Ashley Little, as she welcomes her guest to the table.
Welcome to Creating Your Seat at the Table. I am your host, Ashley Little. A little bit about myself: corporate professional by day, entrepreneur by night, 5-time best-selling author, CEO and founder of Ashley Little Enterprises, owner and creator of Creative Broadcasting, and co-founder and owner of Talk Radio and TV Network, LLP. Tonight we have an amazing special VIP guest by the name of Cassandra Alston. A little bit about her. Karen's favorite mantra is trust the process. Karen is an award-winning, nationally recognized marketing and brand executive and entrepreneur. She has an illustrious career working on impactful and meaningful branding campaigns and projects with business, corporate, and government entities that touch the lives of millions. An executive, entrepreneur, authentic leader, brand builder, innovator, women's leadership advocate, and authenticity guru, Cassandra Alston is a nationally recognized award-winning proven expert. She is affectionately known as the advertising diva or for her hashtag being Cassandra Alston. Karen has a boutique branding and marketing agency founded in 2002, www.alstonmarketing.com. Her firm has launched several successful and award-winning marketing campaigns in the Washington, D.C. metro area. In 2015, Karen added to her entrepreneurial journey and founded the innovative women's professional development educational platform, the Spectrum Circle. Born as a third-generation entrepreneur and a fourth-generation college graduate, Karen knew early on in her career she will always have an entrepreneur entity in addition to her corporate career and follow in the footsteps of previous generations. In addition to her success as an entrepreneur earlier in her career, Karen enjoyed working in the financial services and technology industries in management positions at J.P. Morgan Chase, America Online, and Bank of America. Sought after for her marketing, entrepreneur, and political knowledge, Karen is a frequent TV and media contributor and has been featured on several outlets, including The Today Show, MSNBC, Fox News, Bold TV, and TV One, News One Now with Roland Martin, and numerous other podcasts and radio interviews. Karen is an international acclaimed public speaker and commentator on a range of topics, including management, marketing, authentic leadership, diversity, wellness, women's empowerment, branding, sexual harassment, Me Too, gender bias and inclusion, and the glass ceiling. Karen has received dozens of awards for her accomplishments in leadership, marketing, entrepreneurship, branding, and wellness. Karen is a member of the American Enterprise Institute's Leadership Network. Karen serves on several community and industry boards, including American Marketing Association, Cassandra S. Pinkney Foundation, and the Edgewood Brookland Family Support Collaborative. Karen also received a Bachelor's of Business Administration degree in Finance from Howard University, an Executive Education Certificate in Branding and Design from Harvard University. Welcome to the table, the amazing Cassandra Alston.
Good evening, and that was a mouthful. It's always humbling to hear your bio read, because it's like, wow, I did all of that.
Yes, you are amazing, by the way.
Thank you so kindly. Thank you.
Yes. So, Karen, please tell our listeners more about your entrepreneur journey.
So I've always dabbled with entrepreneurship. So when I came out of undergrad, I was really fortunate that I was able to go work in the 90s in New York City on Wall Street. And if you remember that time before Y2K, the internet was booming and people were, buying .coms and URLs and starting internet companies. And I knew I wanted to do something, but I couldn't figure out what it was that I wanted to do. And so I just came up with a bunch of different ideas. I tried different things. Some failed. Some had a little bit of success. Most of them failed. But I just was trying to figure out how to be an entrepreneur. What was my passion? And at that time, like I said, I was in my 20s, so it took me some time to figure it out. And when I got to America Online, after its merger with Time Warner, it was a tough place to be. And, Steve Case was a visionary, but his vision was too soon back then. And my boss at the time said, hey, you've wanted to be an entrepreneur. Now is the time. Walk away from AOL and go start your own business. And I just decided, okay, God, I'm going to give it a try. And in 2002, I walked away and started my own business. I've been an entrepreneur ever since then. Thank you. I've been an entrepreneur ever since then. So it's when you look back, it's hard to believe, and it's just such an amazing journey, an amazing ride. It's hard, and I'm very honest with people who come and ask me for advice and guidance. It's hard and a tremendous amount of sacrifice, as you know, as an entrepreneur. But it's the one thing that has challenged me and helped me to grow as a woman more than anything else.
I love that. And you have a career working on impactful and media branding campaigns and projects with business, corporate, and government entities that touch the lives of millions. So please tell us more about your passion, Karen.
So I fell into marketing and branding. I didn't study for it. I was a finance major in undergrad, and I'd have stayed at J.P. Morgan until I died if they would have let me. I never thought I'd be in marketing and branding, but when I worked at MBNA, which was purchased by Bank of America in the late 90s, I was asked, in an amazing way, I was asked to work for the chairman of the board in his office in New York City, and what we did for him was he had some private relationships with charities and organizations that he supported. Our chairman of the board was a very successful billionaire, and when I started working on his charities and organizations he supported, I had to do all of the work. So I had to work with marketing on the creative. I could test the creative. I could come up with different promotions and things. And so when I was doing that, I was like, wow, this is pretty fun, to just come up with ideas or to think about what consumers would be interested in or why people support this particular charity or a different charity. And I realized at some point when I was doing all this work that this was marketing. Oh, wow, this is pretty cool. So when AOL called to recruit me, they said, hey, we love what you're doing, up in New York City. Could you come do the same thing for us in our in-house advertising agency at America Online? And at the time, in 1999, everyone was leaving their sort of corporate jobs to go work for .com. And I wanted to follow the wave that my friends were doing, and so I decided to go work for this startup called America Online and do the same thing. And that is how I fell into marketing, because I honestly had never planned for it. I didn't study for it in undergrad at all. And I think that my business background and that financial background helped me because I was able to use both sides of my brain, the analytical and the creative side. And so I always see things through a lens of, what's going to sell, what are people thinking about, what are the trends, what are the fringes I can hit, what's shocking, what's creative, what is it that's going to get people to be interested in this campaign outside of pretty pictures or pretty graphics. What's the messaging? What's the target audience? Who am I selling this to? And when it comes to communities of color and other other groups, identified groups, I'm very good at sort of reading the trending aspects of those. So that helped me in order to create some great campaigns.
And that's so important that you spoke about that, because I think a lot of people think the pretty graphics and the pictures is what's gonna attract, your clients and all of that. But it's all about who is your target audience and making sure that you're presenting to the right audience and knowing what you're selling, right? So I'm so glad you spoke on that, because I think a lot of people sometimes get that kind of confused. Could you talk more about that?
Yeah. So we all love pretty pictures. Obviously, Instagram showcases, we love pretty pictures,
right,
but we like the messages of those pictures. We like the captions of the pictures. We want to know what message the person is conveying behind the pretty pictures. And one of the keys of marketing is, am I just selling you the pretty picture, or is there something else behind that pretty picture? You know, what am I selling? And I tell people and business owners all the time, you recognize good service, you recognize when you go to a restaurant and it's beautiful and it's photographic and you love the scenery, and then the food sucks. And you're not going to go back because the food is what you came to the restaurant for, not to take pretty pictures. So if it's just pretty on the outside and the substance isn't there, consumers aren't going to stay with it. They're just not. It's the same as anything. You know, if you go to a store and they treat you horribly, yeah, you may like the dress or the coat or the shoes, but you're going to remember the experience of how you were treated. So if you pick up a brand and the packaging is beautiful, which a lot of us are guilty of great packaging, but the product is horrible, you're not going to buy it again.
Yeah, that's so important for our listeners to understand that it has to have substance. It has to be more than a pretty picture. It has to convey a message. So thank you for sharing that, Karen. So you're known as the advertising diva. So please tell us more about the advertising diva.
So, you know, it's sort of funny. So if you think about the rise of the internet and the rise of Twitter and Instagram and even Facebook sort of reaching that mass market when it moved from college kids to adults, I was trying to come up with a name for myself that would be memorable and something that would, you know, get people to know who I am, you know, that could associate a term with me. And because I do marketing and branding and advertising, I thought, what's a cool name? What's fun? And I thought advertising diva would be cute. And, of course, I have some diva tendencies, so I try not to boast about those, but I do have some diva tendencies. So I thought, advertising diva works. And I just started using it on different platforms, and people started to notice or pay attention to that advertising diva name. And then as hashtags became popular, I thought, what else can I do to showcase who I am? And so I could build my own personal brand even larger, and it could transform from personal to professional, but still be able to learn more about me. And that's where I came up with the hashtag being Karen Alston. And it's amazing how big that has become, because people stop me when they see me on the street or they see me in public and they say, being Karen Alston, being Karen Alston. And it's just blown me away how being able to brand myself in those two ways has transformed across multiple social media platforms into who I am.
Yes, and I saw that on your bio. Also, the advertising diva, I love it. And it all started with a hashtag, right?
Yeah, it did, yeah. So it's just amazing how, you know, like I said, for me, building brands, you know, used to be intimidating, and now it's like, okay, I can do this. And I did it for myself. So it's even harder, because it's really hard to build your own brand. It's easy to build other people. It's hard to build your own.
And, you know, you did all that with a hashtag. So we talk a little bit more about hashtags and why they're so important.
They're very important. And a lot of people don't, you know, if you're Kim Kardashian or Beyonce or, you know, Taylor Swift, you don't need a hashtag. But all three of them look for their name, you know, on hashtag, and have social media teams that are looking at their names trending and what's happening. But I've watched a lot of people use hashtags to reinforce who they are. So back to more than just a pretty picture. So if your hashtag is wellness or life coach or marketer or expert or public speaker or coach or whatever it is that you do, so adding those hashtags starts to define you. So if you post a pretty picture and you add wellness, life coach, personal branding to your hashtag, then people can start to associate, oh, this is what these pretty pictures start to reference, and this is the person defining who they are. So I can begin to think of them when I want to hear life lessons or wellness, or think about something around spirituality or branding, whatever it is. I can search this person, or I can search for these hashtags and start to see a lot of the picture of who this person is. So it just speaks volumes beyond the pretty picture.
Yes, so for our listeners that, have questions about hashtagging, it's so important that you do that and that you do it the right way in order to brand yourself. So, Karen, what are some strategies you would give to business owners when creating a successful marketing campaign?
There's so much. Because I see a lot of really horrible marketing campaigns. So it's a lot. First of all, consumers and the pace of the internet, the pace of social media, the pace of Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, keep it simple. People aren't going to read a 20-page diatribe, and, the chances of them watching an hour-long Facebook Live video, it's just those numbers are dwindling. So how do you engage people in 10 minutes? How do you engage people in 20 minutes? How do you get as much content across without overcrowding? And I watch people do flyers that has, 30 lines of content on it. It's too much. No one's going to read all of that. Just trying to get your message across simply so that the average person can articulate what it is you're trying to do. So if it's tune into my Facebook Live, the time, the date, what you're doing, and the why. But I watch people put 50 things up of their Facebook Live, and folks they're just not going to read all that because they're on to the next thing on their timeline. The other thing I see from marketing is that people don't want to do it. They believe they're good at whatever it is they do. They're great plumbers, they're great home cleaners, they're great bookkeepers, and they may be very good at what they do, but you don't just put the website up and a million people start using your product. You have to tell people that you do this business, and you have to figure out who your customer is. And a lot of times people don't spend time and energy thinking about, well, who is my customer? Your customer isn't everyone in the world, because chances are you're not going to get up and go to China and meet with a customer or go clean their house, right? So if you have a home cleaning business, your customer is going to be in a geographic area that is convenient to you and your workers. So thinking about, okay, well, if I'm going to be in New York City, am I going to do all in New York City, or am I going to just do Brookland, or am I going to do certain neighborhoods in Brookland? And if I'm going to do certain neighborhoods in Brookland, what are the typical houses in that neighborhood that most people have? And so if I'm an expert at cleaning Victorian brownstones, then that gives me a niche, and people can find me because I have this niche, and I can have a strong customer base because there are so many brownstones in these 5 neighborhoods in Brooklyn that are convenient for me. And so I don't see people research who and why would buy their products and services. So they tend to do these general market plans, which are hard unless you're a big mega brand with a whole lot of money to market nationwide. You just most small businesses don't have that ability. And thinking through, who are my customers? What are my hashtags? How am I targeting those customers? How do I get people to share my products and services? But really putting time and energy into a marketing plan. And that marketing plan needs to be based on the amount of money you have to spend today, 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now. As your revenue increases, you have to reinvest in more marketing.
That's good. As your revenue increases, you have to reinvest in more marketing. I love that.
And I also see a lot of people, and I am a benefactor of Facebook and Instagram. But the one thing you don't control is Facebook and Instagram. So, yes, you can put your stuff up on Facebook and Instagram, but Facebook controls the algorithm. So it can decide, oh, well, I'm only going to let 100 people see that post over the next week. And as you know, and anybody who uses Facebook or Instagram, they change the algorithm all the time. So the engagement you were able to get a year ago may not be the engagement you get today. So you also have to think beyond Facebook and Instagram to get your message out there. You've got to, zone in on your customers, get people to share, get people to engage with you so that the algorithm recognizes, and instead of sending it to 100 of your friends, sends it to 500. But people don't understand that. They just say, well, I put it up on Facebook, but that algorithm can change weekly, monthly. It's just whatever the Facebook engineers decide and the data people decide, okay, today we're only going to share one of your posts per week that'll go to the majority of your followers.
And that is so good to know, because a lot of people probably don't even know that the algorithms change like that, and that what you have, the interaction you had a year ago might be different today. So that's some good knowledge for our listeners that are listening, trying to figure out how to, have a successful marketing campaign. And, some people are, I guess what's the word, don't want to invest. They want successful campaigns. They don't want to invest like they should, Karen. So what are your thoughts on that?
You have to invest,
yeah.
Whether it, and also think about how people shop and buy services now. They don't really go to websites anymore. So yes, you can have a website, and your website's pretty much your brochure unless you're doing direct selling, so you're selling jewelry, you're selling clothes, whatever it is you're selling. Then you're spending a lot of time updating your website for sales. But, thinking about how are people buying, how are people purchasing, what percentage of people are going to type in your URL to shop, and what percentage of people are going to go on your Instagram and see what you're selling or purchase or engage or buy. And sometimes you need to buy ads. And to be very honest, anybody who studies Facebook will tell you the trend that Facebook has is they want everybody to sell ads, to have the sponsored posts in order to get the engagement that you want. And when they see a post and they know it's selling something or trying to get people to engage in something, they tend to put that in the algorithm of only show it to X amount of people. So, it's understanding that. It's understanding, like I said, it's who is your customer and how are they going to find you. There are certain businesses I would definitely say, have a website. There are certain businesses I would say, use your Google AdWords and your Google search engine optimization. It just if you're a bail bondsman, search engine optimization works really well because you want people to type in Google, I need a bail bondsman in this city, and you want your business to be right there, number one, on the search engine when Google comes back with a result. It just depends on your business and how your customers find you. And you should be asking people, how did you hear about us? And I watch a lot of people who don't do that. They say, oh, I saw it on Facebook. But have people tell you, I saw it on Facebook. I saw it on Instagram. My friend told me about your product. Oh, my friend was wearing the jacket you sold, and I loved it, and I want to get one for myself. So it's understanding where and how your customers are coming to you.
I love that because that's so important, understanding that and, using all your resources, right? And I think a lot of people, like you stated, use the website for a lot of things, but some things you probably don't need one for. It just depends on how your customers are buying and how things are selling. So, Karen, you are the CEO and founder of Alston Marketing Agency, and I know you've spoken about some of your services already, but could you tell us more about your services that you offer and how people can purchase?
So it's usually clients, so most of my clients are government and large nonprofits. And I sort of fell into that because I live in Washington, D.C., and it's a government town. So it wasn't that I, couldn't do marketing and branding for a shoe salon. It was just that, I lived here, and working with the government and large nonprofits was easy, and they're big customers here in the region. So that is what I've been doing for a long time. People ask me for advice. A lot of small business owners ask me for advice all the time, and I usually say to them when they're starting out, A, you can't afford me, and B, take me to lunch or dinner, and I'll give you, one or two really good things to get you started. And then when you get some revenue in, I'll recommend some people that work, because I have a lot of, when it comes to marketing and branding, it's almost like being a doctor. There are people who have different specialties. So I have a few friends that work with small businesses. I have friends that work with doctors and lawyers. I have friends that work, that they sort of do marketing and branding in certain niche categories, and they're good at it. So, what I tell small business owners is invest in certain things like, Google AdWords and sponsored posts on Facebook, depending on what you're selling. And then from there, as you build some revenue, set some money aside to hire an expert to help you with certain things. And then as you grow and your business goes from the $25,000 to $100,000, to $250,000, be thinking about, okay, if I'm doing $250,000 in revenue, how much should I be spending on marketing my products and services? And the other thing, people think that they have to have these $1 million businesses. You don't. You can be very successful with a $75,000 business. It all depends on your expenses. So if you've got a $75,000 revenue business and your expenses are only $25,000, that's $50,000 in net income. So, you don't have to be making hundreds of thousands of dollars to have a successful business. And if you have a full-time job and that $50,000 comes in every year, that's great extra money on top of your salary. So, it's just figuring out what makes sense for you, your lifestyle, your family. Scaling a business to $1 million is a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot away from your family and your life and other things that you have to do. So, people say they want $1 million businesses, but I'm like, do you know how much work you have to put in to have that $1 million business and what it's going to do to your relationship and other things? So if you have the support to do it, it's great, but if you don't, it can be quite difficult. So I ask people to be honest with themselves.
And that's important, right? That, that we be honest with ourselves, because, it's okay to have your full-time and be an entrepreneur by night. So I think some people think you have to go, full force into entrepreneurship, but it just depends on what your purpose and your goals are. So thank you for sharing that, Karen.
Yeah, I can definitely tell you I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur. There was a time when I did scale to $1 million. It almost killed me. And, and I make good money, but I make good money for my lifestyle, and that works for me. Now, my other business, I may scale to $1 million. It just depends on, how much work I want to put into it to get there. And it is being honest with yourself. If I had children, I would have made different choices. So it's just, being honest with yourself around where you are at the stage of life. If you're 21, 25, 30, and you want to work the hours and do everything required, do it. But if you're 50 and you've got kids and you've got responsibilities, you may make different choices. Not saying you won't be an entrepreneur, but you may not want to work all the time and be away from your family and loved ones all the time.
Yes, so that's so important, putting things in perspective. So, Karen, you are the CEO and founder of the Spectrum Circle. So please tell us more about the Spectrum Circle and how we can support and get involved.
So about 5.5 years ago, I was thinking about my life and the doors and the opportunities that had opened to me and the women I had met along my journey and a lot of the advice they had given to me. And I thought, wow, this is great, and I benefit from it, but there are so many other women that need to hear these messages as well. And I thought about how could I create a platform or create a space where women would begin to feel more comfortable to share the truth about who they are and how they were able to achieve their success. And I honestly just got tired of going to conference after conference where a woman would sit there and say, I went to this school, I got this job, and I became senior executive vice president. And you're sitting there in the audience going, yeah, I'm 100% positive that's not what happened, right? But it would just give you the fairy tale version of their career and not tell you the pitfalls, the ups and downs, who got fired, who got promoted, this happened, then they changed. You know, people wouldn't tell the truth to how they got to senior executive vice president. They would just say, oh, I graduated, I got hired, and I got promoted, which is rarely what happens because it's life, and life is full of human beings. So, you know, I thought about how do we create spaces where women could feel more authentic, and I decided to create the platform called the Spectrum Circle. And to be honest, when I did it, I thought I could have 1 or 2 events, and I'll be happy, and, you know, I would have achieved my goal. And here I am 5.5 years later going, wow, I can't believe that it's growing and taking off. So it amazes me. So people can go to thespectrumcircle.com to read up about the Spectrum Circle, and if you follow me on social media, you'll see that I'm starting to market next year's awards luncheon, which will be the 5th annual luncheon, and that I'm blown away by the interest and support and just how many people are excited about the Spectrum Circle and this year's awards luncheon and ideas. I had lunch with someone today who wants to do an event with me for the Spectrum Circle early next year, and it just blows me away with the amount of support, and it reinforced that even though people say there's too many women empowerment, there isn't enough, because nearly at where we need to be in our careers. We're not even paid equitably today. So, we need more platforms for women to tell the truth and feel comfortable to tell the truth about what they're going through in their personal and professional lives. The challenges we navigate, the struggles. I have so many women who come to me just with the struggle that they make more money than their husband, and they don't know how to navigate that. I mean, it's just, there's so much that has to be unpacked that the Spectrum Circle could not solve all of those challenges. That's how deep, and of course we're dealing with thousands of years of programming that teach women to be quiet and, to be seen and not heard, and to not be too successful, or to not be too educated, or to not be too this, or not, so it's really difficult to get women to share the truth because they're fearful that if they boast or share what they've accomplished, someone's going to tear them down. So
I love it.
Thank you. So I've just been blown away by the support and how many people keep asking for more and more and more. Like I said, today, a girlfriend asked me to do an event on marriage and women who've been married 10, 20, 30, 40 years, just to share the truth of how they navigate it. And I was like, wow, I never thought about that. And she said, but it's a real issue. And women aren't sharing and talking about how they navigate just that, or, when you make more than your husband, or just the things that they just don't know how to have anyone to talk to about.
I just want to thank you for creating that space, right? Because like you stated, it's not enough women empowerment events. So thank you for creating that space and, having those award luncheons, you know, recognizing women, having them to share their successes and failures. So thank you for creating that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
So, Karen, you are a frequent TV and media contributor and have been featured on several outlets such as Today Show, MSNBC, Fox News, Bold TV, TV One. So would you please tell our listeners how you were able to accomplish these amazing goals?
So I love this story because it's really sort of funny. It's sort of comical. So as a marketer, I'm used to being behind the scenes. Always been behind the scenes, always the person, you know, behind the camera, making sure the shoot goes perfectly or the video spot is done well. I am not used to being in front of the camera, so this has been a learned skill for me. So just being able to do interviews like this is a learned skill, new skill, relatively new skill. So I don't know if you remember when the Harvey Weinstein story broke.
Yes.
That was probably 3-4 years ago when that story broke. And I'm really active on Twitter. So the story broke, and right like a day or two after the story broke, there was a hashtag that was developed called My Harvey Weinstein Story, where women were sharing, you know, times throughout their career where they were sexually harassed or their bosses tried to have sex or make sexual advances towards them. And my first job was at a big bank on Wall Street, and my boss was openly trying to have sex with me and have a relationship with me. And at 22, that's a pretty scary thing to happen to you, and it's something you don't regret. As a matter of fact, it's the reason why I left the firm, because my boss was trying to sleep with me. And so I tweeted to the hashtag, I said, you know, this happened to me at 22. You know, I worked for a Wall Street bank, and my direct supervisor, you know, was trying to sleep with me, and, you know, I walked away from a career that I thought I was going to have because I had to get away from him. And, you know, I just tweeted it out in the universe, not thinking anything of it. I didn't share the company name. I didn't share who my boss was. I just, you know, I was just following this hashtag. And about maybe 3-4 hours later, I got a response back from a woman who asked if she could DM me, and I said yes, and she DM'd me, and she said, can I call you tomorrow morning and talk about this? So I spoke to her the next day about 9:05 a.m., and she was a producer at the Today Show, and she said, would you come on and tell the story? And I said to her, my dad doesn't even know the story. Like, I haven't even told my dad the story, and I've kept it hidden all these years. And she said, well, call your dad, call a few friends, and I'll call you back at about 12:30, 1 o'clock. So I called my dad, I called my mom, and I called one of my dear friends who's a Fox News anchor and talked to her, and she said, you better go do the Today Show. So I went to New York the next day and recorded the segment. And, you know, segment aired that weekend. I come back to D.C., and I think, okay, that's it. It's done. It's over. You know, bucket list checked off. I can go back to being behind the camera again and being behind the scenes. You know, I've done the Today Show. Life is great. And literally the next day, Al Jazeera called. And then 2 days after that, Roland Martin called. And then all of a sudden, I'm doing TV hits. And it has nothing to do with Harvey Weinstein. It just has to do with politics or business or FIFA or world news. It just happened. And so since then, you know, I've been doing TV hits, and it's just been amazing how this has unfolded. And it started with that one tweet.
See, social media is so powerful, right? It's so powerful.
And I tell people that it is tremendously powerful, and you know, I had no idea that this could happen, and you know, it's just unbelievable. So that's why I tell people, you've no idea where that tweet or Instagram post or Facebook post could end up in the world. You just have no idea. You just have to set your intentions, and whether no one reads it or a million people read it, just set your intentions.
Yep, that's so important. So thank you for sharing how you accomplished those amazing goals. And I know you've talked to us more about your successes and failures throughout the interview. So I know you're continuously building your own tables. So I asked all of my guests this question: how did you create your seat at the table?
So I'm a firm believer of building your own table. Though I have now, I have my own table, I also have a very strong front row. I asked God years ago to put women in my life, women and men in my life, who would be true, authentic friends, that would not just look out for me and love me, but also be truth-sayers back to me, to keep me as humble and in a place of gratitude at all times. And so it took time. It didn't happen overnight. It took time to cultivate that and have a strong support system. And to have a strong support system also means that you are a strong supporter of others. So the women and men that are in my front row, I support them as well in their endeavors, and I'm a truth sayer. I tell it like it is. I don't stroke their egos or fanboy or fangirl it to them. I give it to them straight, and they value and appreciate that, just like I value and appreciate it from them. And so and even the example of building the Spectrum Circle has opened more doors for me, and I didn't understand the build your own table until I did it. And now that I've built my own table, I realize how important it was to do. So, and as far as having a seat at larger tables, once you have built your own table, you'd be surprised how many people invite you to sit at theirs.
That's so right, and that's the key, right? Once you build yours, you'll be surprised at who invites you to sit at yours. I love that. So thank you for putting light onto that. So what did your failures teach you on your journey? Because, a lot of people don't want to go through the process, and the process is what makes us.
Oh, most definitely. You have to fail. And I have learned to accept that failure is learned life lessons. So I've had a ton of failures in life. We all have, mistakes, things I should have done differently. And, some things you don't recognize right away. Sometimes you need to get a little bit more life experience and maturity to see it clearly and to say, that was probably a mistake and a missed opportunity.
Right.
Some of it is fear. Most of it is encapped in fear. So as an African-American female, there's a lot of fear around being different or being authentic or stepping out of the pack or owning who you are or just being able to walk in your authentic self. There's this almost group think that you're supposed to think this way, do this, live this way, act this way, and that's not my reality. So it took me a long time to love myself enough to do that. The other thing is I had to own my space. I tell people I'm 5'9", I'm 190 pounds, so when I walk in the room, you're going to notice me. And I used to shrink and feel uncomfortable, especially in rooms where I was the only person of color or the only African American. And I used to shrink and just go sit in the corner somewhere because I would feel intimidated or feel, afraid. And now I walk in the room and, I'm fine. I walk in, I'm caring. It doesn't even faze me or bother me. But it took me time to get there, and to let go of the stereotypes or whatever, People are going to make assumptions about me regardless. I can't control that. What I can control is how I show up in the room. So the people who look at me and have whatever their opinions may be are going to have those, and the people who seek me out and say, hey, great to meet you, how are you, whatever, those are the people I want to engage with in the room. as far as failures, like there's just so many learned life lessons. You know, for a while I was seeking popularity and wanting to fit in with this, you know, with what I perceived as the in crowd, or, you know, sometimes you allow social media to present, to show you people that you think have perfect lives or perfect, you know, and you realize that it's not, you know, social media is controlled content, but you see it and think, oh, they're perfect, they're the perfect couple, they're the perfect this, and, you know, it's not reality. So I had to move away from that. I also had to look at the people who were around me and why they were around me. I realized I had a lot of people who weren't truly friends. They were just hanging on, you know, and they weren't there for me. They were there for themselves. And so I had to recognize that. And a part of wanting to be popular sometimes is you just want people around you. And then once I realized that a lot of people who were around me weren't there for genuine reasons, I had to, you know, not let them go, but I had to put them in a different place in my life. So that was important as well. A ton of failures, you know, opportunities I should have taken, projects I should have worked on, projects that I, you know, didn't show up as my authentic self and just tried to, you know, sort of BS my way through it. You know, there's a lot of things because we're human and we go through life. So, but just realizing that listening to your inner voice, you know, paying attention to fear, stepping outside of my comfort zone has been probably the biggest life lesson I've ever had. You know, I had to stretch myself. As I said, being a business owner forced me to stretch, you know, to take risks. One of the things I wish I would have done, and I tell young people this, take more risks in life. You know, like I said, we're so afraid to take risks. We want to just fit in and be in that box, and you've got to step outside the box. You've got to push yourself. You know, even if you're baby stepping, you still have to push yourself outside of the box so that you can try to, you know, get to a level of understanding. And, you know, once you're able to do one thing, then you'll push yourself to do something else, and it just opens up so many opportunities for you.
Yes, and that's so important. You know, being able to understand that it's a lesson, right? Failure is a lesson. It's a lesson. It's not even failure.
No, it is. It's a lesson. That's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is.
So what did success teach you?
What did success teach me?
Uh-huh.
That I had the whole Dorothy thing, that you had the talent all along, you had the ability all along. Success happened after I faced a fear, or, you know, you step out on faith and you do something, and like I said, it's sort of human nature to expect the worst, like, oh, it's not going to happen, it's not going to work out, it's going to be a failure, and then boom, it's successful, and you're like, oh, that's really cool. You know, hard work, and success is really hard work, preparation, and a little bit of luck, in all honesty. So, and success has different levels to it. So that place of gratitude is, whether success is small or huge, it's just always being in a place of gratitude. You know, not everybody's going to be Beyonce, and that's okay, right? So you can't measure yourself on her or her career. You can measure yourself on your success. And if you achieve more than you ever dreamed of or thought you could achieve, you're still a success. You don't have to be Beyonce. You just have to be you, and measure your success by what your original expectation was, you know. And so that's what I tell people, to always be in a place of gratitude, because life is so precious, and at any moment it can be taken away from you. And most people are afraid to even try. So if you set a goal to be the next Beyonce and you work hard, you may not get to Beyonce. You might get to Janet Jackson level, right? Or Erica Thomas.
Right.
But the point is, how many people sat and never tried? And you tried and you were able to get to this level of success simply because you worked hard and set the bar for yourself to be as good as Beyonce. And you may not make Beyonce, but you made it further than you or anyone else ever thought you'd get to. And as I said, people sit and talk and criticize and judge and everything else, but they're not doing a damn thing to get to where you are.
Right. So that's why you have to be careful who you listen to, right?
Very much so. Very careful who you listen to.
And I'm a firm believer that, you know, if you're not ready to be talked about, you're not ready to be successful.
Oh, yeah, because you can't be successful and not be talked about. It's just the way it is.
Yes.
And people are jealous. They have jealousy, envy. They like, it's easier, and I say this, it's easier to tear down than to build up. So, you know, when the herd or people, oh, she didn't sound good, or did you see her makeup, or you know, it's easy to tear down because when you're sitting on your couch behind your, you know, your phone or your laptop, it's easy to take somebody down. But the person who's out there doing it, who steps into the spotlight and risks, they're the success story, not the person who's sitting at home going, oh, my God, I can't believe she wore those shoes. Who cares?
Yes, and that's so important that we know that and understand the difference of it, and to continue to follow our purpose and stay focused, basically. So thank you for shining light there, because I think a lot of people, like you said, they sit on their goals and they worry about what people say, and then they get distracted and they never accomplish their goals.
And, you know, I talk to a lot of senior citizens because I feel like we learn so much from senior citizens. And when you ask senior citizens what they regret, it's usually, I didn't take the chance, or I didn't do this, or I didn't tell this person I loved them, or I didn't do. It's the things they didn't do, not the things they did. It's the things they didn't do. And so I would rather step out and fail than to have not stepped out.
Absolutely, I agree. So, Karen, what can we expect from you the rest of 2019? We are in the fourth quarter, and I know you're going to finish it strong.
So I have a couple of really cool things coming up, and some personal things. So I will tell you this, that I have 2 books in me. And I'm getting ready to go on vacation next week, and I'm going to outline the book when I'm on vacation. And I'm probably going to write it over Christmas break, the first book. So that's number 1. I've got a couple of really big things that are just great things. One that I'll announce in early December. There's just a huge blessing that's coming to me in December. And so for the end of this year, it's just sort of creativity, some travel, and the one cool announcement I have. And then you'll really see the first quarter of next year is sort of when there'll be a lot of events. There'll be a lot of activity, but a lot of events and things happening that are great, you know, that I'm just really excited about. You know, the future is full of possibility, and, you know, just for me to write a book, I've been thinking about this for a long time, and, you know, just didn't know when I would be ready to put pen to paper, and it just so happens this year I'm ready. And I'm also been thinking about, this is the end of a decade. It's not just an end of a year, it's an end of a decade. When you think about where you were in 2010 and where you are now, and what you have accomplished, just taking a moment of just pure thankfulness and gratitude as to where I am. I in 2010, there is no way I would envision that my life would be what it is today. There's just absolutely no way I would have written this down. There's none. There's none. And I have my vision board from 2008 and 9. I'm going to take a look at it over the Christmas holiday just to compare what things that I thought about in 2008 and 2009 that line up with where I am today.
And that's a good way to look at it, because a lot of people think it's a new year. No, we're walking into a new decade.
It is a new decade, yeah. A new decade. So as I said, so if you look back over the 10 years, and now we've got, email and social media that you can go back to 10 years ago, and look at your Facebook and look at what you were thinking about, or what you were doing, what you were writing about, or what was in your journal or on your vision board, and be able to see here a decade later how much you've accomplished and how much you haven't.
So how would you please let our listeners know, Karen, how they can follow you on all social media platforms and connect with you?
So I'm Advertising Diva on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. On LinkedIn, I'm Karen Maria Alston. And on Facebook, I'm Karen Maria Alston. So feel free to follow me, or they can also follow my hashtag Being Karen Alston, which will show up across different social media platforms. So feel free to send me a LinkedIn request or to follow me on one of the social media platforms, because especially in early December, you're going to want to see what I'm going to announce, because it's really exciting and I cannot wait. I'm so excited about that. But I can't say anything until early December. So I'd love to share and engage with your listeners and just hear about what's happening in their lives.
Yeah, so please connect with Karen. She's doing some amazing things, definitely somebody to know. Super congratulations on your book, on all the amazing things that you're getting ready to birth, Karen. And I can't wait to see all the great things that you're about to do at the end of fourth quarter and in this new decade that we're about to walk into.
Thank you so kindly.
And thank you so much for taking the time out of your very, very busy schedule to come to the table. This has been a very powerful interview, and I cannot wait to invite you back to the table.
I'd love to come back and invite me anytime.
Thank you, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you. So I would like to give a special thanks to Tammy Collins-Markey and John Schamberger. I would also like to give a special thanks to Author Kimberly McLemore and my intern, Sarah, from Tennessee State University, and my intern, Vontaria, from Winston-Salem State University. You all may follow me on Facebook at Ashley Little and on Instagram at _Ashley A. Little. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Creating Your Seat at the Table, where Ashley speaks with corporate professionals, celebrities, entrepreneurs, authors, and speakers who are transitioning or have transitioned to entrepreneurship.